So we're going to go through the usual how's a clicker work thing. Right, yeah.
Time started.
There you go. Okay, right. Ding ding. Okay, that's always ahead. That's all.
Use the down button.
Oh, right, yeah. There we go. Okay, so started by Michael McGoogle. Look, there's conjecture whether he was 11 or 13 when he started the business. Certainly pre-puberty. As you can see, puberty has moderately been kind to him. Various, a bit of a plot history there. Look, the company's grown pretty successfully over the last little bit. You know, some of our milestones around acquisitions and integration. We've been recognised by BRW with Fast 100 3 years in a row. I ran out of bullet points. And Michael was also the New South Wales Young Entrepreneur of the Year in 2012. He's recently stepped aside in April this year to give me a go at driving bus, so let's see how we go. Look, this is just very quickly what we do. So as you see across the top, we've grown through acquisition. So this is purchasing other web hosting companies in our space. This is around getting scale. For people in the services business, scale means cheapness, and cheapness means you've got a sustainable business. We've also grown through product sets, and as you can see, we started out in the shared hosting space, but more recently we've gone into the software as a service space, down the bottom sort of right-hand corner as you look at it. It's been a long journey since 2005. I joined in 2007, and a lot of that blue stuff is kind of my learning. Look, I thought I'd try and stick to Anna's brief, so finding inspiration. Look, one of the advantages, and it's a mixed blessing we have in Australia, certainly in terms of the IT services industry, is we're actually kind of 12 to 18 months behind North America and Europe, in my view. There's not to say there aren't really innovative, great things happening in Australia, but in terms of at least our particular component, I can go to America to a conference and meet an American and claim I'm speaking to someone from the future, because from our perspective, that's where they look. So we spend a lot of time looking overseas to work out what's going on and try and pick the best bits and bring it back here. It's not to say that everything that occurs in North America or Europe is actually applicable. And if you blindly drag those things across, I don't think it's any guarantee of success. In Australia, the economy is actually really heavily geared towards small business. You've got to get to 63% of trading ABNs before you get above 4 seats. And you've got to get to about 90% of trading ABNs before you get above 20 seats. Now, small business, you know, most of us are there now, if you're in the room. One of the characteristics of small business is, while they don't have a lot of money to spend, they've got more money per employee than large business quite often. And it makes sense, because you buy a printer for $500 and you share it between 5 people or 50 people, you can see the economy of scale. So my view in Australia, at least for a company like ours, the opportunity actually is in small business. The last thing I'd share with you from our perspective, you might reflect on your own business, is who's your actual customer. The guy paying the bill for us is the small business owner. The guy who made the purchasing decision often isn't. If you're a plumber, or you're an electrician, or you're an accountant, or you're a lawyer, often you're relying on someone else to make the purchasing recommendation to you rather than decision. So if you're in a business and you're working out who you should sell to, you've got to think about not only who's going to pay the bill, but who's going to influence that decision. Finding the right team. Look, in the early days, at least from our perspective, was anyone stupid enough to work for us? You know, it was a pretty uninspiring story. We were in a shop next to a Subway in Western Creek, at least when I joined, and so, you know, compared to working to HP or IBM, etc., not potentially a lot of prospects, so I'm looking for people with vision. The thing about the skills early on is pretty important though. You need vision, but quite frankly, too much vision. You spend a lot of time walking and not a lot of time doing, right? So early on, getting that mix of a visionary, a pragmatist, and someone with a corporate financial background, because the money always matters. And in fact, when you're small, the money matters more. And visionaries are prepared to throw it all against the wall and see what sticks. But you probably need someone behind them saying, do you really want to grab that last lot of money and chuck it against the wall? So you need that kind of mix. Another thing I've noticed is tolerance to ambiguity. Canberra being a government town, a lot of people in government jobs look at the grey wall and think, you know, I could be an entrepreneur, but the level of ambiguity associated with joining a small startup is probably a level that's beyond what they realistically believe is the case. So when you get that team together early on, there needs to be a tolerance of ambiguity, there needs to be a trade-off between risk and reward, because the guys in early are taking a lot of risk. Once you get further down, then it becomes important that we share the vision. A lot of people will come into the second stage when they perceive there's not much risk, but want to share a commensurate amount of reward, and you need to be careful of that. And secondly, you need to make sure you give builders rather than entrepreneurs. I mean, part of the reason I took over from Michael is A, better looking, but secondly, he's a mad, keen entrepreneur, right? He's very interested in 1,000 ideas before morning tea and getting started all after lunch. When you're 5 people who can do that, we're 60 in Australia plus overseas staff, you just can't have it. Because the amount of chaos it creates means you never achieve anything. You don't finish, don't start. Funding, obviously the 3 Fs, friends, family, fools. And we all start there. Look, incubator's got no personal experience. A lesson from me though is we talk about PE, private equity, and VC, venture capital, as if they're the same thing, but they're not. If you're looking for a relatively low risk, so slightly higher return than you normally get, with a small number of ventures, PE firms are what you look for. If you're looking for a company who's prepared to take 1,000 bets on the hope that 100 go big, then a VC firm is. And you need to look hard at your business and decide, are you 100 times business, are you a 10 times business, and decide whether you chase PE or VC money. And that's a lesson that we've learned down